Well, today is July 4th, and yes, it has gotten a whole lot better. Better leadership for sure, but there's still a long ways to go. Today we want to celebrate freedom, and we're going to talk about exactly what freedom looks like. I'll be honest with you, actually, Trump said something yesterday about property tax it's a winner, a game changer. He's kind of going along with what DeSantis said. I would love to get to the point where we don't need property tax. It's a big statement. We're going to talk about that. But sadly, we still have things like raw milk illegal, but then we allow certain dyes in our food. We want freedom, however, we're putting ourselves further in debt. So we're going to discuss those things today on July 4th. Now, one more thing I think that we need to not miss. There was a reporter that came out and talked about certain things going in our water. Water is freedom. When we don't have access to water, that's the end game. We're going to talk about what is planned for July 7th. July 7th. While we've been focused on July 4th, while we've been focused on other things, the things that we talked about, the sprays and all that for today, July 7th actually is a bigger warning that a reporter just broke on a syndicated public network. We're going to discuss what he found out and what's going to happen in Connecticut and other states just like it. Let's dive into these stories and talk about our water, because without water, nothing else really matters. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so very much for being here. I just decided to go back on the farm today because, again, we are free. It's a beautiful day. I'm enjoying the fact of being able to go outside and hear the birds, see the freedom, and enjoy the day. And you know what? Today we're going to shoot some fireworks. We're also going to shoot some other things. And we're going to spend time as a family, and that is special. Love grilling, love this time of year. Love today, even though it's going to be miserably hot in South Mississippi. I love today. Guys, we have been so blessed to be part of this nation. Now, the sad thing is, I think some people have forgotten and not really read up on history, because we have places like New York and some of these other liberal ideologies that are pushing for a less free situation, even down to some of the religions and things like that that we're allowing in our country. So what I want us to kind of hone in on today is freedom, independence. Now, Trump came out and stated that he was all for getting rid of property tax. He wants to see a time when we don't have property tax. We hear that from a lot of politicians. We hear it from DeSantis. We hear it from Trump. We hear it from several places. However, it's not getting done. To me, the biggest risk of freedom is property tax. I think that is the biggest risk because, for instance, I've told you this before, they steal $35,000 away from me every year with property tax. I don't live on some big ponderosa. I literally live with a house, a yard, some cattle fields, and a business. And I get charged basically $2,900 a month in property tax for no reason. I have my own well. I teach my own children. I have my own septic systems all over the property. I actually have 2 wells, fixing to dig a third for Aiden's house. We get no benefit from the city. Truthfully, I don't have any police or sheriff that come around. There's not a fire hydrant near. So when we think about property tax, I believe it's the biggest risk on freedom in America. If politicians really want to win over the American people, they would start cutting our taxes, not just little tax here and there. They'd start cutting our taxes, starting with property tax, estate taxes, and regulation taxes. That means nothing to me. I can't stand a politician to tell me what they're going to do for me, but they're ultimately still charging me taxes that are just irate. We just got notice that they're going to raise the public education and the school tax here for our school districts. I've not even been part of the school system, and again, they're raising the tax on it. So it does upset me. So when we talk about freedom, that needs to change. Now, you're going to hear it first. I'm okay with some taxes. I believe in something like a sales tax. I'm even okay with some kind of flat tax. But it needs to be to a point where we're staying on budget and we're sticking to the plan. That's another part of freedom that we're missing out on. We're not free when we're in piles of debt. Now, think about this. This is a biblical term. You know, a slave is always in debt. If you're a debtor, if you're in debt, you're always a slave to that debt. The lender is always going to hold over you. I mean, think about the debts you have with a credit card or with the bank or with your automobile. Basically, you don't own those things because the car manufacturer owns it, or the bank owns your home. When you get out of debt, it's a freedom there. Well, in a nation like United States, we have a lot of things that are going great. We do have a lot of freedoms, and I don't want to ever take for granted those freedoms. However, we're in debt up to our eyeballs. And so ultimately, if we don't fix that situation and quit borrowing money, we're always going to be a slave to the debt. We got to get on steady ground. I blame our congressmen, I blame our leadership here because, again, just like property tax, the reason we have to charge so much property tax and the reason they have to keep going up on it is because they keep spending it. If we learn to get on a budget, that's what true freedom looks like. Now, one more argument. You know, I push for freedom, and taxes and property tax are the worst. But I'll tell you something else that just upsets me more than anything. I'm sitting on my farm. Right there, I milk cows every morning. We have raw dairy milk. We believe in it. I have honey from honeybees right across the street here. I have, you know, sheep and cattle and all this, and basically I'm raising food for myself. But honestly, if I raise food for other people, instead of them just being able to say, hey, Colby, Farmer Colby, I'm going to come buy a cow from you. I'm going to come buy some milk from you. I'm going to come buy some butter from you. I'm going to come buy some eggs from you. I'm going to come buy some sheep from you, some pork, or whatever it may be. There has to be so much permits, so much rules and regulations. I can't sell my raw milk, it's illegal. I can't do this, it's illegal. It's amazing how we have hurt the little guy, the common Joe, just the neighborly sales, the freedom there, but we allow for people to do sprays all over our crops. There was a plane just flying over. Now, we don't have any crop fields next to us, but we went in an area just a few days ago in Louisiana where you're crossing the river and there's literally planes, crop dusters, just, coating this food with these quote-unquote sprays that are supposedly good for you, but ultimately is to kill pesticides and herbicides, like is for pesticides and herbicides. However, it's supposed to be good for you to eat. But then they get mad at people like us for selling raw dairy milk and eggs. So I do believe in freedom, and I want us to not take for granted the freedoms we have. However, I don't want us to lose sight on some things that we've got to work on. There shouldn't be a reason that I have to buy and pay property tax. There shouldn't be a reason that I have to, get a license to hunt on my own property. There shouldn't be a reason for me to have to get a fishing license, or there shouldn't be a reason for this person to get a license to cut hair. Honestly, that's kind of dumb, isn't it? So there's still some things we need to work on, and I think we're in a good trajectory, but I do think that we need to stay focused on the plan at hand. We got to get out of debt. We got to cut our taxes. When we get out of debt, we'll start cutting our taxes because ultimately we'll be saving money. And then we have also got to still push for things that were freedoms just 100 years ago, and now we're locked down to rules and regulations. So that's things that we need to push forward. Now, the biggest story of the day is the water. And before we get into that, a word from today's sponsor. Have you ever Googled yourself and literally your family members and information of yours came up? The question always comes to mind is how much of my public information is actually on the World Wide Web, on the internet where people could just access it. Not only that, think about all the spam calls you get, all the spam emails you get. I get several a day and have to block and block and block. That's where my friends at Aura, the sponsor of today's video, can help. Aura will help remove your personal information from data brokers and people searching sites to sell your information from and to identity thieves and scammers and more. Aura monitors your personal data, including your social security number, your house number, your phone number. And not only do they check it and monitor it, they will alert you if all of a sudden they find that your information has been compromised. Also, Aura VPN. VPN protects you on the internet, and this was with military-grade protection when it comes to Aura's VPN. It blocks all scam and phishing sites from getting your information in your accounts. What about an antivirus? What about a password manager? 24/7 US-based support. I get all this in one app called Aura. I do not want to leave myself vulnerable. We talk about it all the time. We live in a digitized world. The last thing I want to do is protect my home and not protect myself online. Check out aura.com/themacs today. You will not be sorry that you did. My information is mine. My social is my social. My address is mine. The last thing I want is someone else to have it. You can go to my link below, aura.com/themacs, and get 2 weeks free. That will be enough for you to see how Aura is an asset to you, because you're going to realize how much you're exposed online. Stop leaving yourself vulnerable. Check out Aura today. Link is in the description. Thank you so much, Aura, for sponsoring today's video. Now, people often ask, why do I put out dates? Why do I say, okay, this date's this, and it never comes true? It has nothing to do with the date. The point of the dates helps you remember better. So when we talked about, like today, the push for the dangers in fireworks, the push for certain times in our history. Just like July 7th. Is it the fact that July 7th is the most important date ever when it comes to water sustainability and water safety? No, but the importance is they're letting something happen on July 7th that we need to be aware of, because it's happening in one state doesn't mean it's not going to happen in more if we don't push back. I want you to pay attention to this story, because this is bigger than anything that we can imagine, because without water, we have no animals. Without water, we have no crops. Without water, we have no freedom. We need water. I want you to listen to this, and this comes from actually Newsmax. This is from Carl Higbee. It says, Carl Higbee at Newsmax was able to do more research and found that Democrats will begin spraying our lakes and rivers with a toxic chemical, diquat, D-I-Q-U-A-T, this Monday, July 7th. Chris Webby exposed the details for those who missed it. After July 4th, rivers and lakes are about to start being sprayed with an extremely toxic chemical called diquat in Connecticut, with plans to go nationwide. This has been sprayed before, and it kills everything. Politicians are getting rich off this deal, along with many of the people in the government. Connecticut is about to poison its own lakes and rivers with a highly toxic chemical called diquat, and it seems like no one knows about it. It actually is coordinated plans, and they're going to roll this out in several states all over the country. This particular chemical is banned in Europe as being highly toxic for humans and wildlife alike. This is from Wall Street Apes. It says, the way these scumbags are getting away with it is they're saying it's used to kill invasive plant species called hydrilla, which I'm sure it does, but it also kills everything else in the water. See, this is one of those things. It's kind of like when people say, well, you can't drink raw dairy milk because it's got bad parasites, so we're going to boil it down and heat it up to a point where it kills everything. Well, it does. It kills the bad stuff probably from farms that shouldn't be selling it, but it also kills the good things. See, that's what we do. Just like the spraying that we were just talking about. We want to kill everything that might be bad because it's in, and they get away with it was for your safety and for your security. We need to get rid of those bad things. What you don't realize though is as they're getting rid of the bad things, they're getting rid of the good things, and they're also poisoning you. My goodness, look at this. They're going to spray your lakes and waters and rivers. Do we not think this is dangerous? Well, it's gonna get rid of that invasive plant. Yeah, but it's gonna get rid of all the other plants, all the other algae, even the fish, and then all of a sudden we're gonna put this water through, some kind of filtration system and add tons of chlorine to it and hope it's gonna be okay for us to partake in. This is also from Wall Street Apes. It says, when I look up if they were doing it in the state of Connecticut, I was shocked to see the right after July 4th, the day of freedom, that they're worried about spraying lakes and rivers. And of course, it starts off when you look at the money, who's funding it, where the money's going to, and it seems like a lot of lobbyists were behind it. There's quite a lot of big players in this, and sadly, it's going to keep on going across America because of the money behind it. This is not just a partisanship issue, it's downright evil. 12 sites are already planned to do this in the lower Connecticut River. Chemicals such as this will be banned in most places across the world. However, in America, they're going to start scheduling it to be sprayed on July 7th. It has been approved by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and approved by CT Deep. Sites include, of course, they list a ton of sites. The people involved with this deal were people that were tied to this company that was going to make, of course, a lot of money, but a lot of other big players in government. I believe in independence. I believe in America. But when you start tainting waters, when you start tainting our foods, when you start tainting our vegetation, like for instance, I want you to look. I just want to be honest, just for a second. This field here, it's green lush. A lot of that stuff right there, though, because this is newer fields, is still invasive. Animals won't eat some of that stuff. I can go in there tomorrow and I can spray all this. And what they're going to say and what this is going to say, well, it will kill that popcorn tree. It will kill that Johnson grass. It will kill that stuff the cows won't eat. And then you're going to have a lush pasture in a few years. What damage am I doing to the soil by spraying it with some kind of chemical? So what I've learned to do is do it naturally. I'm going to work, let the cows eat as much as they can, then cut the rest and keep doing that over and over and over, putting hay out in some spots. And that way I'm building fields. You know why I do that? That field will end up looking like this field. Lush and full and green with no chemicals, no spray. Now, I'm sorry, y'all. If we really want to change America and really want to be free, you got to get on a balanced budget. You got to quit allowing these politicians to write all these new bills and it's tied to money. And most of all, you've got to cut regulation and red tape on the farm. But the biggest of all is just what we just talked about. If we keep allowing these people to destroy our lands with spray and pesticides and herbicides, when we keep allowing these people to, well, we gotta spray this because it's invasive, we need to make sure that all this chemical goes in our water. I mean, it doesn't matter, we're gonna put tons of fluoride and chlorine in it, so it'll be safe. So we're putting more chemical to cover up the chemical that we've put in it to kill things, and so therefore we're gonna try to balance it out with more chemical that's usually owned by some of the same companies. Pay attention to July 7th. Not because of July 7th. The reason I throw that date out though is this. If you're in Connecticut and you're in these areas that are downstream of some of these rivers and lakes that's from Connecticut, you need to be up in arms. But don't miss this. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is in this. Your other state governors are in this. The lobbying firms are behind this. So when we were worried about the crops being sprayed on all our lands, that's happening all over America, this will take place in all the rivers and lakes and streams as well. And then one day we're going to look up and say, I wonder why we were all so sick and not doing well. I wonder why we're on so much medicine because of all this stuff. I wonder why our water is so tainted. I wonder why Europe, India, and China bans all this stuff and we just allow it to take place. Are we truly a land of free when we spray and basically cause problems for our animals, for our livelihood, for our grasses, most of all for our waterways, which is ultimately us. Water is the key. Control the water, control the food, control the energy. You control everything. What did I tell you the other day? I opened the cows to a new pasture over here. 15 acres. I mean, they have more land than they've ever had. Walking around, they think they have the world. They feel like they've never had so much green grass in their life. And they haven't. Now, the thing is this, though. They think they have all the freedom, but it's just a bigger field. So they don't really have freedom. They're still contained. I just gave them a little bit more leeway. Now, why? Because I want that area looking better. So, I mean, it has a plan. They're getting the best grasses they've ever got. They think they're free, though, but actually, it's just a bigger field. America does have freedoms, but don't think for a second that we have as much freedom, especially when we have taxes going crazy, when we're paying property tax and giving government basically money to rent our land each and every year, when we're in debt up to our eyeballs and we keep spending more money, and then we're willing to allow companies to spray our food and our waters. Pay attention. July 4th is special, Independence Day. But just like that, right after July 4th, just after this weekend takes place, the 5th and 6th is going to pass, freedom reign, shoot fireworks, eat watermelon, hamburgers, all that good stuff. And then the 7th, we're going to start spraying all our waterways and contaminate our water. That's a big deal. Pay attention to that. If Trump wants to change America and wants to be if Trump wants to change America and have legacy, he can start by cutting the budget, saving people the money, fixing Congress with lobbyists, cutting property tax like he said that he thinks is illegal. And as a business owner and as someone who owns a lot of land and real estate, you would think that he definitely knows that compared to most politicians. But more than that, we need the freedom of the farm back. We need the freedom of getting away from chemicals back. I think RFK is doing a great job. But honestly, if we want to change America, Trump and RFK and some of these players can easily do it. But it's going to take us believing in them and also pushing them on the fact of no property tax, quit spraying our lands, give the freedoms back to the farms, and start cutting our budget. We don't need to pay taxes just to give to all these other people. Just like if you really look back at this waterway thing and the invasive species, I bet you if you follow the money, they probably know it's bad too, but man, it's got some good gravy money with it. And I think that is the biggest concern. Pay attention, not just on July 4th, not just on July 7th, but standing up for your freedom. Thank you for watching, guys. God bless.